All right. Welcome to this 30th episode of Parables from the Pit, the podcast of Warrior Week. With me today, I have a very, very, very special guest. They are the Osburns. I have Dr. Ed Osburn and Karen Osburn. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, you'll get to know the relation and the combo that is sitting here. You'll get to know them through the history of Warrior, and you get to know them also through what they do and how they lead in their own industry, and as well as in particularly in their own household. We got two leaders here, right?
You got it.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. All right. So you're on for a spicy one, so stay tuned.
That's who you are!
All right. Okay. So, Dr. Ed, Warrior Week 22?
20.
20. Man, it's like almost 3 years ago.
Yeah, you were driving the van.
The van driver. Whoa. Warrior Week 20. Yeah, I remember 20. Okay. Why?
Why? That's a good question. So the story is that I had started following Garrett on social media. So he was just, I don't know, I just learned about him. I don't even remember how I came across Garrett on Facebook. And I got sucked into that matrix of what the message he was putting out there for men. You know, I had a lot of challenges in probably all four domains at the time. And I felt he was speaking to me. And I had a podcast, which was called The Chiropractic Philanthropist, so specific to chiros. And I reached out to Garrett, and I'm like, man, you got to bring this message to the men. You know, these doctors, they need this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was finally when we actually did that interview with Garrett, it was transforming. You know, Karen and I actually, I never listen to my podcast. I never sit there and ever listen to any interviews I've ever done. I've done 280 of them or more, 288. And when Karen and I sat there, and it was like a 50-minute interview, and we watched it twice together, straight through. And that was where we got indoctrined into the message of the Warrior's Way.
So you mean Garrett came to your podcast?
He was on my podcast. That was when he actually did interviews on podcasts.
Okay, and then after that, what happened?
Okay, so then it was around, I think, was it my 45th birthday?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw that, I was watching the documentaries, the Vegas video, following Garrett, and I had posted on one of the posts inside of Facebook just a comment saying, hey, Karen, I should do this Warrior Week thing for 45, kind of jokingly. And Garrett chimed in. Karen was like, 110% behind me doing this. I felt like it was an impossibility at the time because of my health challenges and, the stories behind that, but also the stories behind money and finances and all that too. But there I was, next thing I know, I'm on the phone with Coach Sam. And from there, I actually made it to the call with Garrett.
Okay, so how old were you?
45.
45. And you didn't even make your own decision?
No.
Karen decided for you?
Karen and Garrett decided for me.
I don't think Garrett decided for you.
Yeah.
Is that true, that Karen decided for you and Garrett decided for you?
Possibly, yeah. Karen.
Is that true?
Karen wanted it more than I wanted it.
Is that true? That Karen decided for you?
I think the voice, if I look at it, nobody can make any sort of a decision and make you actually physically do something that you don't, want to do.
Sure.
So I was there. I mean, there was.
So therefore,
I made the decision.
You made the decision. You created the experience.
Right.
And Karen was part of that. And Garrett was part of that. And so there you come to Warrior Week 20.
20.
There were some difficulties before you come, I remember, right? You almost didn't make it.
Well, yeah, I mean, so the history is, I was diagnosed with severe Crohn's.
Yes.
And so I'd been struggling with that. I'd had emergency surgery after 2 years after being diagnosed, which wasn't that long, like that far into the future of like before I came to week 20, and they removed most of my bowel except for like about 12 inches. So life is exponentially more challenging for me on a daily basis just because of that.
You come to Warrior Week and Warrior Week 20, major shift for you. What was your biggest takeaway on that experience itself?
That's a tough one, Coach, because when I left, I had a decision. It was like I was either going to succumb and just die, to this disease. I think even some of the brothers that were there just said, hey, man, this guy's either going to rise or he's going to die.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was very black and white for me, and so I rose. I mean, it was incredible to think, again, and I think that sometimes I think that my story is unique, and the longer that I'm inside of the game of Warrior, I actually see that there's more and more men who have a very similar story to the story I tell, like the transformation.
The big one takeaway that you left that shifted something for you, for just you, what was it?
Power.
Okay. So Karen, you supported Ed, you empowered him for him to create his experience and just decide and come. And at that time, it wasn't, I remember, like, financially, it wasn't easy. It was almost impossible. It was a difficult decision. It wasn't an easy decision. Oh, here's the money. I'm going to try this out. You really had to create the experience, and you empowered him. What were you feeling? Not simply what Garrett was talking about, but what were you feeling at that time, and what were some of the desires attached to your feelings as a wife?
The thing is, though, Sam, there was something that I couldn't explain. So, when it talked about watching the video, and I think that was after I actually, the episode came out, because I remember that day listening to it, because he's like, oh, I got this guy, he's on this, he's in the Christian charts, and I'm like, not interested. And then I heard the interview. Yeah. And I literally remember, pulling up into the garage after being in the practice, hating fucking being in the practice, wondering what was going to happen with Ed and money and all of this, and just being riveted by what Garrett was saying.
Yes.
And this have it all. What is that? And there was just something inside of me that just felt like this was truth. So that question that you asked me, I don't really know the answer to it, because it was a feeling.
Exactly. It was exactly a feeling.
Yeah.
And it was right here. You even touched it.
100%.
It was right here.
Yeah.
So the truth is, you actually knew, but we're conditioned to say, I don't know what it was. The question is simple. You empowered him. So there was energy that came through you that actually got transferred to him, and he got empowered, and he created an experience. You didn't decide for him, you empowered him. So energy comes in from truth. Truth is related to feelings. It's not here, so it's in your heart. So at that time, and it had nothing to do with Garrett. Garrett was just a simple mirror in front of you. So what possibilities you felt for you as a woman? Because if this wouldn't serve you, you wouldn't transfer the energy to him.
Yeah.
So what is, what you felt, what is the possibility that you saw for yourself that felt good? Because if it didn't feel good, it wouldn't generate power.
I think for me, Sam, I always saw Ed as a powerful man.
Yes.
I just didn't feel like he didn't see it. And so I think what it really was is I saw this as an experience for him to really discover who he was as a man.
Yes.
And to show up as I know he was able to, and I want him to be as my husband, and as I know he was able to, and I want him to be as a father. But yet I didn't feel like he had the confidence or the Ed wasn't a not a confident man, but he wasn't how I saw him to be.
Okay. So, but you've seen a version of him in the past. So when was the last time that you saw that confident and certain Ed? Obviously, I'm talking about before Warrior Week 20.
Before Warrior Week 20. Okay.
Right now.
Yeah.
Right now, he's a manifestation of confidence and certainty.
I would see that with Ed in practice. I would see that when Ed spoke. when we were in practice together.
In your relationship, where would you
Oh.
see that? At home?
In our relationship?
Yes, at home. How would you feel that? How would you feel that he's not demonstrating confidence or certainty? What patterns and behaviors were attached?
I don't know if I really saw that confidence outside of work
Okay.
or like physically. So Ed was running like marathon, and we would CrossFit. And so I think I would see that confidence and certainty there.
Mhm.
But when it came to him and I, like we were such in a place in our marriage where it was just, we loved each other.
Mm-hmm.
We liked being around each other, but we were like really good roommates.
Okay.
And so there wasn't that real sense of power.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so much of it around the time leading up to Warrior, a few years leading up to Warrior, was when Ed was like got diagnosed, and even before that, we're trying to figure out what's going on. And so there was a real decrease in power during those, I'd say, 3 to 4 years leading up to discovering Warrior, because of everything that happened with his health.
Got it.
Yeah.
So at that time, that exact time, how were you expressing your love?
I don't think I was.
There was no expression of it. There was just a knowledge of it that, hey,
No. I mean, I came, even when I came to week 20, I thought I was here so I could learn how to go out and hunt. Like I didn't realize until probably 12 hours into the first day that I was actually here for my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny how like once I actually made that realization and that shift, and once I actually came back and actually started to build the marriage that I wanted, that connection, then my business started to change.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. It was almost instantaneous too. It wasn't even like I had to wait. It just happened.
Everything changed for you in a year.
It changed in a week after I got back. It's crazy.
And inside of that year, things were good. And at one point, you came back to Warrior X.
Yep.
What made you come back again and knock at the door? What happened to it?
It was again, it was the calling.
Okay.
It was the calling and the just like, and I think a lot of men are going to experience this, is that you have to stay in the game.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't stay in the game, then it's not even that you start to revert, but you start to go back to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Like you become unconscious again. And I felt I was going there, and I just needed to come, and I felt like I needed that kick in the dick again to get back on track. But however, I think it's also important to note that like even after that, I felt like I did it again.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like almost every 12 months I had to come back and experience the physical, the physical part and the bonding it with the unit, because I would actually isolate and separate.
What would that
myself.
give you? That what were you looking with? What feeling were you looking in?
Power. It was just power, Sam. Like I would feel that I was like. So I think a lot of people, maybe they don't understand, or someone who knows someone who has suffered with a chronic challenge or disease.
Yes.
So I live daily with pain. I have challenges every day that many people just simply won't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, it's kind of like beating a dog. And you're just...
I think many people understand it.
Yeah.
I don't think many people feel it.
True. And
So people will go around and say, oh, I get it. That's a common thing. I get it. I get it in my mind, but I don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel? That most people did not give a shit about your problem.
Leaking. So I always look at things like I'm either gaining power or leaking power, and I was leaking power. And so as I would start to leak power and feel weak because of the physical beatdown that I would have on a daily basis, then I would feel I need to come back here and build myself back into a state of fucking, just power.
Okay.
And then I could go back and I could be in that place again, but then I would start to slip. So it's the drift, essentially.
So, Karen, you witnessed this,
Yep.
obviously. You witnessed. Talk to me first about the week when he was here. Like, how were you feeling? What were some of the things that you wanted him to gain when he was coming back?
With 20?
Because realistically, no one had any idea what the heck this is. It sounds good. Okay, I'm all in. And then, so what were you hoping that week itself?
I think I was hoping Ed would just really find out who he is.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't like I was so behind it. I was like, go.
Yeah, I
We don't
remember
have
the
the money.
posts.
Like, we'll find the money. That doesn't matter. Like, it's, like, we'll make it happen.
Yeah, I remember
But then
all
it was
that.
like, it was the second day, and he texts me a picture of his nose, and he's like, well, at least it's not broken. I'm like, fuck. And I knew this stuff was coming. It's like, so like from that day, like I was a little freaked out. I was a little freaked out.
Okay.
Yeah. Even though I knew it was coming, even though I knew it was part of it. So the week when Ed was away, I wanted that, and I still remember when Ed came home. I still remember him walking through the door and just like looking at his eyes and just being like, "You're clear." Like it was.
Yeah.
You could feel it.
I could feel it. I could see it.
Yes.
I could see it. Like his eyes were just clear.
And you witnessed also him losing that clarity and power throughout the year, perhaps gaining financial status, gaining more clients, more significance within the industry and what he was doing. And where did you see him losing and leaking that power? Was it in your relationship? Was it him being absent, or the connection not being as it was empowering when he came back? So where was, from your perspective, how was the leak taking place?
I think it would really come back to Ed's health. Like there would certainly be times where, like, so we started from maybe February of that year, March, and you went to Warrior Week in July.
Yeah.
We started like weekly date nights. So, I mean, that was already starting to really build. But there would be times when you would just bury yourself into work, because I know that there was so much fulfillment and like, there was a metric with that thing. Like you could do that, you could earn money, and you got something from that, right? Yeah. But then I would see then his health would be pushed aside, and maybe even stuff with us would be pushed aside a little bit too. So, but the biggest thing would be health.
Because basically his health is almost affected every hour of the day, depending on what you eat, and right. I mean, it's constantly there, and it simply is.
Yeah, and it impacts. And there were certainly times where I would be like, okay, well, let me just let Ed do his thing, because like before Warrior Week, my mode of communication would be like, let me just tell you the way it's gonna be. Like, let me just like mow over you, because, and the way that we communicated, my family was growing up was like yelling at each other.
Yes.
Well, in Ed's family, like that would be bad, like that, and so there would just be this shutdown. Like, why can't you speak, and why can't we just talk it out? And so after Ed came back from Warrior Week, there were definitely times that I would just be like, you know what? He just needs to figure it out.
Yes.
I can't be there. I can't go to that space. And so it would almost be this dance of like, dude, what the fuck is going on? Like, what are you doing? You're drifting, all this kind of stuff.
Yes.
And then like, okay, you're going to do your thing. Ed's going to do what Ed does. But the reality of it is, you're saying then too, is like, when Ed's not feeling well, that impacts everybody.
Everything.
It's not isolated. It's not in a bubble.
Question for you, Karen. When Ed went to surgery, when they were dealing, and the actual doctor, staff, or whatever, they made this huge mistake, right? It was a mistake that they cut off something that they shouldn't. And how did that affect you?
You mean like, well, I mean,
I know what you're referring to.
I'm referring to what you shared with me, your intestine, the mistake that they made.
When they went in initially, there was only like 1 centimeter that was affected
Yes,
of
yes,
the bowel,
yes.
but they ended up taking 4 feet.
4 feet, yes.
It was because of the extensive blood supply, and so I'm not. So just so we're clear. I mean, I'm not on an ostomy. Like I don't have a bag.
Yes, yes.
But I mean, if I don't care for myself, then that would be the next step.
Yes.
And so there were a lot of complications. It was difficult. I think I was in the hospital for 3
But the
weeks,
fact that they took off 4 feet instead of 1 centimeter, right? That was a mistake.
I think it was just a necessity.
And it's okay.
Like, I mean, one thing I've never revealed is like, I mean, I remember being wheeled into, and this is relevant to the discussion today of feeling powerless.
Yes.
And I still have this memory of like being wheeled into the surgery.
Yes.
And I had to go from the gurney and get onto the table
Yes.
for the surgery.
Yes.
And it's a black table. It was kind of tilted a little bit, and it has these arms that come off. So you place your arms on there and they strap your arms in. And I had to move myself onto that table physically, because I was still, conscious. And they gave me the anesthetic. They're like, okay, you're gonna go to sleep. And I was actually aware when they started the procedure. So I remember being aware of what was going on for the first few minutes and wanting to say, like trying to say, hey, I'm still awake.
Yes.
And I couldn't even speak. Like I couldn't do anything.
Powerless is
power.
that image, that moment. Yeah, okay.
And it's like an encompassing metaphor for everything that goes on with my health.
Yeah.
Is that feeling of powerlessness.
Takes away everything, therefore there's not much left to give. So what I was coming at is that like your frustration with this whole thing that happened, whether it was a mistake or not, whatever, that doesn't matter. But you know, the whole surgery thing, just the fact that it happened, right? Have you dealt with that, or that is still with you, Karen?
Depends on how you define dealt with that. It's, you know, even though this was like 6 years ago when this happened. 6 years ago. 6 years ago. Tyson was like not even one. It's like you were just talking about stuff. I can even share the story and I can go back there in a heartbeat.
Sure.
Like I can remember Ed coming to me and saying, don't let them don't let me wake up in a bag. Like, don't let these just don't let them do this to me.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about like powerless, although on the outside, so back to your thing of dealing it, like at that time I was like, I got this.
Yes.
Like I got the practice, babe. I got this. I got our boy. Like I'm good.
Yes.
And I was not good. Wasn't. And so what was back to your question again? Was like
just if you're finished dealing with this, or there's still constantly, and the way to know this is if there's any feeling of blame or fault that comes out, something to blame time to time or not.
I don't think there's feelings of blaming fault. I think the things that sometimes I feel with Ed now is like from that situation, because I remember him like wheeling in and I'm pushing away our youngest one in the stroller and just being like, is he gonna come back? Because there wasn't a conversation of like he might die, but like I know the statistics of surgeries, and so I knew that was a possibility, and then all the complications, and so like a lot of the stuff that I think might be lingering somewhat still is like anger. Yeah. Anger, and it's tough. It's tough for because the anger is, you know, is directed at Ed at times, and it's like, well, how did you get up to this thing, right? And even if it's that, if we go back to the surgery, there are still times when I think for Ed, it's a difficult thing to put his health first when he wants to put everybody else in that front seat and not himself. And so that'll be the lingering stuff that kind of still comes up at times, which is just like none of that shit matters. None of that matters if you are not here in like 2 years from now. I don't give a shit about the fucking money. I don't care about any of that stuff. Like I want you to be here. Yes. So that's probably still a little bit of the lingering stuff that I feel it got to that point with that surgery. We had this conversation recently. I'm just like, I can't go back there. No. I can't go back to another surgery like that. It'll just destroy me.
When that happened, did Karen became like 10 times stronger than she was? Like, because like reality is Dr. Ed may have not made it, and then you had to actually build something to say, I'm going to hold this together. Yeah.
You lied.
Yeah. Yeah. I did, and I but there was also this falseness to it, because I like literally would have people say like, hey, can we help you? And I'm like, no, I got it. Yeah. My parents came up who are older, but they were like, you know, let me get up, because our youngest was still up at night. Let me get up with Tyson. I'm like, no, I got it. I got this. Because my feeling at the time was like, if I show that, I'm going to lose my power. Yes. Like that whole concept of like vulnerability is actually like a good thing, and show people I didn't understand or buy into any of that shit. I'm like, no. I'm Dr. Karen, and I got this, and I got to take care of it. So I just. So. It was.
So you were alone.
Yeah.
Maybe not socially, but you were operating alone at that time.
But I created that because I had people that reached out to me, and I was just like, no. And then we just have my breakdowns in the car where nobody could see them.
So you felt alone for a while. Mm-hmm. And that loneliness was the source, the feeling that driven you to see the certainty in him, because all you wanted was for him to be back. Yeah. But now Karen has built this her entire fortress to make sure that the family is going in the right direction, and that you got this. And he's not in it. Mm-hmm. He comes to Warrior Week, He goes through some transformation, some change. He comes back, knocks at the door, gets in, is in the fortress with you. Then a year later, he feels that he's out. From the window of the fortress, you look at him and you actually see him out because you can see his leaking power. And then he comes to Warrior X. He goes through another peak. Mm-hmm. What happened after Warrior X, Ed? Anything changed for you?
It was like 10x the results of Warrior Week 20. Because I even still went into X1 with like a certain level of power and certainty. And so, yeah, so I was able to come back with and just amplify that power and certainty. And I remember we took a picture as soon as I walked in after work.
Do we? I don't remember.
Yeah, we took like a selfie. Of course. And yeah, I mean, it's like you could see it in my eyes. Like you could see it when I returned. And I think that's what I'm always kind of hunting and seeking is that power and certainty. I feel I get that in my business often. Body.
What was different with Warrior X? Like one element that changed everything.
Oh, I mean, it was
just one element that shifted.
That I could. So the biggest thing, I wouldn't even say it was a shift. It was just something I took away is that life isn't always fucking fair.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm literally in this group of guys. I think there were 12 of us.
Yes.
I can't even remember. And I'm like going, yeah, you know what? That's not fucking fair. Like
I remember.
You're taking a 20-pound, carrying whatever up a mile up, and I'm like, I got to do that, and I'm like.
So we had anger in Warrior Week 20.
Yeah. We
started descending to blame and fault to some extent.
I was pissed.
And then you came to Warrior Week 38, 39?
40.
40. And then we dealt with two other components of this whole process. All linked to a physical event that completely changed both of you guys' life. Yeah. I mean, that's where the pivoting point was. Karen built the fortress. You were gone somewhere, and Karen felt alone. You felt alone, yet you loved each other because you're both able to draw a shape of a heart. So inside of this, you come to 40. What did you deal with at 40? Specifically the first night into the pit. Like, what did you have to deal with? That was the last chapter of this. What did you wash away?
I think it was more my ability to just lead.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I can say, I'm winning, or it's at the game and in all these other dimensions, I can look back and by the way, I fuck up at this game often.
Yes.
Like there's guys who are like
Yes, welcome to the club.
They're ninjas at this, and I'm not.
I also fuck up.
Okay, so I fuck up all
It's
the
made
time.
for fucking up, so we can recognize that we're not perfect.
But I have a scoreboard now.
Nice.
And so I think it was more I was walking away with just going, look, I can lead, because I was inside of the the Warrior Cert program.
What was holding you back to tell you that you could not lead? Whatever lead definition is, because lead is lead in all areas. You led in your work. There was no doubt. In your line of work, you were leading.
It's different though. I can fix things for people in their marketing. I can tell them what to do. You can't fix a man.
Mm-hmm.
You have to just lead them.
Mm-hmm.
You have to ask them questions and let them lead actually themselves.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm learning.
This is what you're creating.
Creating, yeah. I mean, I think it was more so, it was just like I had to have that certainty that I could.
So let's talk about that. Because you let go of something to gain this purpose, this new meaning of leadership. Because you've led in your industry for years.
Yeah.
288 podcasts, right? You've led, you've changed, you've led, but also as a doctor, you've been leading and you've been serving, and most importantly, you've been healing. There are no accidents that you're a healer and you're a healer. So you have been serving and you have been healing. And now comes in an incident in your life, this unfortunate health issues, that shifts the path of where you were going and now brings you towards a different purpose. But it has always been in you. This is not something you gain at Warrior Week. You didn't come to Warrior Week for some big change or transformation. You simply came in to find yourself, the healer. The healer. And this probably goes back to your childhood as well. You probably acted like a healer as well, somehow, somewhere. Maybe just by caring and giving as a child. So as a healer, you come in and then this physical event shifts your path. You come to a process to deal with your anger, to again come back to deal with the blame, and then get to the components of letting go, which is essentially the guilt and shame that comes with anything. The guilt and shame of the consequences of what this thing caused, according to you. Because there's a law of cause and versus effects, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a law of victims versus creators. And so there was a shift when you stepped into the creator versus just being pulled by circumstances constantly down to the fucking victim.
Yeah.
That was 40. You found the purpose to lead men.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it was to heal men. From what pain? What is the biggest pain that you healed that you're now healing for others? What is the biggest pain you healed for yourself that you are now healing for others?
You know, it's lack. So it's isolation is the answer.
Yes.
Because every man who specifically is, you know, our lead, that I am leading, I don't know if I want to use that term, that are inside of this brotherhood that we are creating, is that they all live in isolation to some certain degree. And that's really what has to change.
I'm a witness that you dealt from breaking through your isolation, your self-made prison, like a fucking solitary. Like you broke that. I witnessed that. And it wasn't an event, it was a process. Cares, you witnessed that too?
Yeah, I would say for coming back from 40 that you've definitely stepped into that, like, way more.
I'm in the game still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to answer that question.
Sure.
I mean, to kind of be vague about it because it's like I see with different eyes.
Yes.
So I've seen this in him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, it's a fulfillment. It's like, fuck, you finally see it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
It's like
what
every
that
time
is.
I go, like, so week 20, that man died when I came back. You know, week X1, that man died.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm unrecognizable to that man, to that person. And it's like even the same thing with week 40. So there's that person that just you have to let go and they die each time that you come.
Yeah, it's the process of recreation. So Karen, you saw that in him. Would you want to experience the same, or you already did? What do you feel you are? Do you feel that you've dealt with your isolation?
I don't know how to answer that question.
You probably know. That's why.
That I've dealt with my isolation. You know, I've always felt like I've been a very different person than most people. So, like, it's I don't feel like I isolate. I think I just operate a different plane. Like, I don't know how to define that much, but I accept that who I am is a leader, that this is what I'm designed to do.
Yes.
And it used to be in the past, like I remember when I felt rumblings of it, like literally like 20 years ago, I was like, no, can't go there. Like, that's too scary. It felt heavy. Now it just kind of feels more like this is who I am.
What built that certainty in 20 years? Was it
Fucking life, man. Like, so, you know, going through stuff with Crohn's, going through infertility, bankruptcy, like life experience builds you, man. Like, again, so we've talked about at times of Crohn's as much as I still, you know, would not like Ed to have the pain that he experiences every day, but we recognize the gift in that, because if there wasn't Crohn's, we'd still be in practice, hustling for new patients, you know, wondering what staff member's going to leave, and then we got to hire, like, we'd be caught up in that rat race still. And so the certainty just, it comes from that. And I think also comes from me having my king next to me
Yes.
moving forward with this, right? Because I know that, like, the biggest shift for me since Ed came back is clearly, like, it's our marriage.
Yes.
Hands down,
Yes.
hands down, hands down. And so because of that, that's allowed me to rise more because Ed is supportive of that. And I think in the past you probably would have said that, but I don't know if you really would have meant it the same way. And so
What
Yeah.
attracts you the most from it today? Except, obviously he's a GQ model. Like
hot.
what is
power, like just power.
Yes.
Power. Like just like being that.
And do you feel that because he's projecting this power that you're attracted to it, but you can also it actually gives you energy to do whatever, maybe just even spend time with kids? Like, does it give you energy?
Yeah, I think so, because I think I feel more certainty with other parts of our life, right?
Okay.
So like with the kids or with business or with like it just I think because before I felt like I had to lead.
Yes.
And I think like it was probably happening even before your surgery, but certainly from the surgery on, and then I just kind of like took over. And then everything was so out of balance for so many years for us until Warrior came along. So yeah, I think it gives me more of that the word I want to say is comfort. Like I never use that word, but like
Okay.
there's a comfort
Yeah,
in that.
okay.
There's like like it's okay. I can
feels
do
good.
these things. It feels good.
It feels good.
It feels good.
It's a feeling at the end.
Yeah,
It
and
just-
it's you know what? Because of that as well too. It's like it's now opened up. I've created time to focus more back on the things that I really want
Yes.
to do. Because I did play the martyr for so long.
Sure.
So long. And like,
Sure.
look at me. I'm gonna do all this shit and run myself in the ground. And oh, Karen, you're so great. You do. Oh yeah, it's no big deal. But really, like I was pissed. I was angry. I was not doing the things that I want to. So because of that, like I've really learned to love myself.
Yes.
And like that adds into the marriage and that adds into the attraction and all of this.
And that's
So-
exactly the energy that I'm talking about. It's like flowing right now. Today, it's flowing back. It's bouncing back and forth between you guys. And the reality of it is, it's just my own experience with my wife, and I've seen over like hundreds of couples. The real warrior, if we're going to use the term warrior, inside of all this is you, the woman. We can sit here and grow a beer and yell at people and act all this, but at the end of the day, we all men came from women, biologically. You cannot deny that fact. No one can deny that fact. Therefore, we can be sitting here and we can say, okay, yeah, we're equal, but we're not. I know alpha energy. I don't know female energy. I can sense it as a receiver, but I cannot give and project female power. I can receive female power. I get it from my wife all the time. That's why I'm sitting here right now with you. Like my life has been based on what my wife fed me with power, right? The power that I got from my wife got me exactly where I am right now. And I go back 20 years, and every single 5 years has been a quantum leap in our lives. Like we didn't just move up linearly. It was like this, and we found ourselves like this.
Mm-hmm.
And if it wasn't for her to support, and things were always nice, like, oh yeah, I've been so good that I'm getting the support. In fact, it was the other way around. Like with issues with gambling and drinking and just like my weight gone like 100 pounds over, like just like who the fuck wants to be with a guy like that? At the prime age when you're young, you don't even have kids. My wife and I never had kids for the first decade. We kind of hanged out with each other. But in that decade is where I was the worst. I look back now, I'm like, fuck. Like, I really look back at the pattern of behavior of that guy in the first decade. I'm like, what happened? Anybody else would have just said, fuck this guy. Like, I don't want to build a life with this guy. This is not a behavior and patterns of a guy that's going to build life with me. At most, I can live with this guy, but I'm not going to last long. So, can I call it luck, accident, coincidence? Fuck no. But I look back, and there has been a quantum leap ever since in our lives, and it has shifted me, and it came from her. So yes, I can sense receiving female energy, but I can never, ever, ever even come close to understanding the projection of that power. I can project alpha all day. But what I know and what I came to just conclude for myself is that behind every powerful man, there is a woman that is 10 times more powerful.
And she's not behind him, she's next to him.
She's next to him. They're both leading.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How did you feel being next to Ed?
Relief. Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just, post Warrior Week, after Warrior. It has nothing to fucking Warrior Week. It has been ever since you guys got to with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then every quantum leap in your life. You have 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Quantum leap. What happened about the Warrior Week could have been like just the whole concept of Warrior, this conversation of what you choose to create with Warrior. It wasn't really Warrior. It's what you choose to create with Warrior. Like, Warrior wasn't in isolation just for you. It was always involved in both of you. So there was benefit inside of that you extracted and you created for yourself.
Yeah.
That's another quantum leap. So where do you feel like, how do you feel like the next quantum leap, like where is this going? Where is Karen and Dr. Ed, what is the next quantum leap destination? Now that you guys are on this platform.
I don't know. Like, we've talked about doing stuff for a while. There is a real magic that Ed and I have, even outside of just us as a couple. So I don't know. I feel that right now I'm so open to things. And so when people ask me, like, what are you doing in a year, in 3 years? I'm just like, I don't fucking know. And it's not because I'm not giving thought to it. I just feel like, you're talking about the flow. So I don't know, but I see it as us having something more where we're doing something together from a business standpoint. And, like, really the honest thing is, where are we going to go? It's like, it's wherever the fuck we want to go. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the real honest thing about it. I don't feel there's any, like, limits. I don't feel there might be, we want to get to a certain place and that takes more time, but it's like creators.
So what you're saying is that you don't know what you want.
I think that along with the power that we're accessing, or especially on my end, is that like, it's given me the power to collide, like with Karen. Mm-hmm. So we have multiple collisions.
Good.
And that is good, so we don't let things just kind of sit. We actually, so moving forward, doing something together, we would never want it to compromise what we've built inside of our relationship, as our marriage, right? So we wouldn't want to have, business take over or complicate what we have and we've built with our marriage. So the power to collide, it's there. It's a good thing, but it's
what do you collide for? What's the purpose of your colliding?
What was the last time
clarity.
Yeah.
That's always
beautiful.
clarity.
Yeah.
It's always clarity.
Beautiful answer.
Yeah.
Because if you would be colliding for right and wrong, this would be a fuck show.
No.
Clarity.
It's over what we want.
So I asked the question, what do you want? You're not clear what you want.
Mm-hmm. I think as right now we're just, like, especially me, I'm just going through such a shift in a lot of stuff. It feels very like, if you would ask me 6 months ago, I'm like, oh, I'm going here, my business, going here with the kids, so now it's just kind of, it just feels like something new is like percolating and building, and it feels very like unknown. It doesn't feel good, but I just know that I've been here different parts of my life.
So it's a mystery.
I guess. Open, yeah.
You're open right now.
Okay.
Open, yeah.
And have you built any beliefs around this mystery? Because it's known, because it's not unknown, so what do you believe?
I believe I just need to fucking chill and trust it. That's
nice.
all.
Nice.
Just, like, trust, surrender, like,
yes.
Not control and direct it all, like, just,
Was there a time in your life that you would actually try to do that, right? To build a belief system that you have to control this, analyze this,
yeah.
or
Yeah.
better word, analyze this.
Yeah, yeah. But because there'd be so many things. So like when everything fell apart for us in like 05, 06 with bankruptcy, right? It's like when you feel so out of control in things, when we couldn't conceive,
Yes.
when Ed's sick, like I want to try to control the things that I can when everything else feels so out of control and so chaotic. And so sure, I try to control the things, right? Yeah.
So today it's fair to say you're not you're not attached to control. You just said it. You're like
No,
open to surrender.
I just really trust because I look back and I
Beautiful.
can look at all these different things and I go, well, this led me to this, to that, to this person. And so, like, who am I to say, I don't want this happening right now? It's like, just hang back and just trust and surrender. It's the hardest fucking thing to do when you're a creator and producer. Like, you're like, but I make shit happen. Like, I just want to do this and do that. And it's like, sometimes you just got to just sit back and have some more space and allow those messages to come in and to hear from inside because when there's so much coming in, I can't hear anymore. I need to be clear.
So talk to me as a mom. How does this come into play with the kids now? This idea of just trusting and surrendering and like just a few examples. Like they don't have to be big examples. That's the beautiful part of it, right? So how does that come to play?
It comes to play with I'm not a woman that feels the mom guilt.
Nice.
I just don't. I just like I used to.
Yeah.
Thinking you got to show up a certain way. And there's this funny thing too when you're like a woman who also wants to produce in business.
Yes.
I don't care who you are, but there's this thing I felt pulled for so many years. I said so many years, probably like the first 3 years of motherhood. But like now with it, I don't know. I mean, I fuck up with the kids and I'll yell at them. I'll be like, I just own it. Like I own it, right? And
You're
and
a
we
kid.
talked-
You're a kid with the kid.
I apologize to my kids. Mommy shouldn't have yelled. It's okay, Mommy. Please don't do that again. I'm like, well, okay.
Probably gonna happen again.
Probably going to happen again, right? But it's like, you know what? It's instilling these beliefs, these principles in our children.
Yes.
Right? So like when my kids who will hold me accountable and stuff,
Yes.
right? And I'll
Yes.
hold them or the things that they'll say and how they're growing up. I mean,
And that's the beauty of what you're describing is that there is an inner child that comes in and plays, learns, and accepts. And so like I remember myself specifically 4 years ago, just before Warrior. Like it was all about like structure, discipline. You have to listen. If the shoes are not put here, then later on in life when you're going to grow up, like your life's going to be a fucking mess because you didn't put your shoes in this corner. Like that kind of mentality. Today, just yesterday, no, 2 days ago, I got a text from my son. He's 8. He's just started texting. He's like, hey, Dad, if you come home and there's no food, don't get angry at Mom. You can always make your own food. And it was because I got home and it was I was hungry. There was no food, so I'm like, I started talking, blah blah blah. So I started cooking. But he sensed that, right? That I was like, what the hell are you doing, man? But he's in a place where he can actually provide that feedback. So I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I'm gonna.
the biggest gift for me as a mom with the kids is exactly that. It's
Yeah.
like I got these little accountability dudes watching me, right? Like all the time with this stuff, which is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that I hold back anything. I certainly don't hold back with my children, but like, when they see us fight and they see us make up and they, we get to model marriage for them. And so, yeah, having kids, it speeds up the process, certainly, of
Yes.
figuring out who you are. Because if you don't know who you are and you can't, you can't lead your children.
No, you can't.
So
this whole process, Ed coming into Warrior and you supporting, and there's just this belief system somehow being part of your life. Bottom line, that's the benefit, is that who cares a fuck about the business? Who cares about, to some extent, leading other men or anybody else? Like at home is where it matters. You see most people trying to lead so many other, trying, I say, right? Trying. Even they say, I try. Try. They're not leading. They're trying. So why are they trying? Because they can't lead at home. And leadership at home is simple. It's presence. It's not time. People think if you spend time at home, you're like, yeah. It's not time. It's just presence. It's not the past or what the future may be. It's just the present time. And it's so difficult for people to get this be here now, which is one of the rules that you got familiar with. But if you want to fucking experience that, just spend 30 seconds with your kid. It blocks out everything. Like if you're absolutely present with your kids, that's what being here now means. Mm-hmm. Like in that moment, that's it. Nothing else matters. There's absolutely nothing that matters. Death doesn't matter. Life doesn't matter. Like nothing matters. But then we keep constantly snapping out of it because our mind is trying to take, okay, well, what is the best thing to do right here, right now? Well, the best thing to do right here is I give a little love. Now I'm going to go back on my phone and handle this. Mm-hmm. And that by itself robs away the power. How do you feel to have, like, your queen present in your life today?
So for me, I think Karen is an incredible mom, like an incredible mother, and I think that's the thing that I see is like for her being present inside of like leading our little guys. Like, she's a great mom. That's all that really matters to me. Like I see her in her business, she's powerful.
What do you see in her business? Who do you see?
Well, I mean, Karen's got has a podcast, and a lot of women listen to her. I mean, I think it's 1.7 million listens or something like that.
1.7. That's pretty good data. Say that again.
1.7.
That kind of data.
1.7.
I said one. That was 1.7 for the record. 1.7. Carry on.
I mean, that's a big number. It's a lot of data. So I see that Karen is definitely someone who can be present inside of her business, and I can see that she struggles too with the business and also.
What do you see in Karen ultimately when you see her with 1.7 million listeners, and when you see her like helping? Like, what do you see in Karen?
Honesty. You want the true answer?
What the fuck, man?
No, just lies.
You want
just
the raw?
Build it up.
The raw and the real? Okay. Just for this one, I'll lie. I think sometimes I see frustration,
yes.
But I also see, again, every day that she's accessing more power. Yeah. I mean, I don't know anyone who is more consistent in this fucking game of Warriors Way than Karen. Mm-hmm. And she's female.
Yes.
Like, she's a woman. I mean, she hits her core four. How many days have you meditated in a row?
238. Beautiful.
Never missed a day. Like, that's data. Like, so that's what I see is, I mean, it's incredible to see a woman who is that powerful inside of the game and keeping score, in the Warriors Way, but also, leading our two boys, our 4 and 7-year-old at home. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think it was always really that way, but just over the last 2 years, you've become just such an attentive and loving and caring mom. Like, she does the work.
Yes.
Like, and some of the work that I won't do, like, I honestly do not want to do.
So how do you feel being surrounded so much love? Because that's what it is at the end.
Just thank God for Karen. Like, thank God. Like, I mean, really. Like, we have some challenges with our 7-year-old, with some, like, how he learns. Mm-hmm. And, Karen is just determined to help him. And consistent, and it's not always easy.
Because Karen is
powerful,
and
she leads.
She's sexy.
Sexy.
Yes,
I
yes.
could keep
For
going.
the record, that was sexy. There is another thing that Karen is, which you are, and we talked about this. You are both healers.
Yeah, this is true.
She heals with female energy. You heal with alpha energy. Those kids are blessed. Because most families, they don't even have healers. Or they may have just one. Although the healer inside of all of us has always been there. But we build all these fucking stories that we're too busy. We got to go to work 18 hours a day, or we have to be 50 days out of 350 away. I'm talking about myself when I say we. Like, how is that fucking possible that for 8 years you are gone 250 days out of 350, and then I can sit back and say my marriage is good and I love my wife and my kids? Other than understanding this in my, like, the love that I created is in my fucking mind. My mind created a version of feeling love. Because if like, for my heart, I wouldn't leave them one fucking day. But you get caught up to this routine. And that's not just me. That's like thousands of men. And what we do is that we train the woman to kind of be okay with it too. Like, this is the standard. This is the norm. And then comes in organizations such as church, governments, different associations and clubs that add another layers of behaviors and beliefs and patterns around it. That it's okay to do this. And inside of all that, this is all that we project on our kids. Like, if I would have continued like this 4 years ago, there's no way I could have fucking received a text 2 days ago from my son giving me feedback. How fucking awesome is that? So really, like, people say children are teachers. It's like a nice little fucking quote. But if you don't feel it, and if you don't actually see it happening right now in your life, if you're not getting feedback from your kids right now, it's because you're not fucking allowing it. That's it. It's you. You're blocking. You built a fucking fortress, and everybody's outside, and you're watching from the window. And you decide based on conditions and term when to allow them to come in. And that's your fucking kids that we're talking about. So the point of this conversation was, is at the end of the day, whatever you created is what you're projecting onto them. Like, they are seeing this creativity, and therefore they get the power, the confidence, the certainty to create and recreate. How does that make you feel as parents?
Good. Like, yeah, the feedback. It's easy to numb, right? It's easy to just be like, okay, well, do what I say, even though my kids don't, like, they don't respond to that shit anyways. But, you know, it is. It's not yeah, so when you say feedback, that's a good thing. I'm like, yeah, it is a good thing. You're right. Because I don't want my children to follow. I don't want my kids. I want them to think for themselves. And, you know, so although it's a challenging way to parent for sure, compared to, like, again, how most of the world rolls, it is the most fulfilling when I hear my kids say things like that, or feedback, call me out, right? Or they'll say back things that I've said to them, and I'm like, oh my God, they're hearing it. Like, you know, the little messages are starting to get in, right? And so,
you know why you can't ignore their feedback?
Because it's truth.
Because it's pure. They have no stories.
Yep.
Their mind hasn't yet kicked in to build fucking stories.
Yeah.
So it comes from the heart and it's absolutely truth. So, like, whatever feedback now, because you don't like it, your mind start making the story that, oh, he's a kid, he doesn't fucking understand. So
you shouldn't speak. I'm your mother. And
one day you'll understand.
You're right.
How about you feel now instead of one day you fucking understand? How about you teach feelings to your kids? I mean, I grew up in a house where my mom and dad wouldn't hug or kiss in front of us because culturally, like, they should do that, like, not in front of us. So therefore, I started operating the same in my marriage, not kissing. Then I made a rule that I actually went on a 90-day challenge to kiss my wife 3 times a day. And I was rejected. I was rejected many times, but it's okay. But, you know, I stayed consistent. But it changed things. I went on that because I wanted to break through something that I've adopted as a belief as a kid. That, if you're, like, your kids should not see you, like, kissing and hugging. Why? What the fuck?
Well, it's the same. A lot of couples feel like they shouldn't fight in front of their children because they don't want to show that. And it's like, show that. Show that. Show all of it. Because, yeah, I grew up in a family where it's like, that wasn't done, but it was behind closed doors. But I heard it as a kid, so I still knew what was going on. But it was scary because I didn't know what was going on.
Yes.
Right? It was the feelings of, like, what's happening, and there's anger, and not seeing the making up and the resolutions and how to deal with conflict outside of just yelling at each other.
Yes. Okay. Well, today was a good day.
Today was a good day.
It's a good
Today
day.
was a good
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
You both spoke at WarriorCon just last 6-7 months ago, I believe, in front of 750 people. It was a beautiful dialogue, and so many men have been providing feedbacks, and just like that was one of the like the biggest thing, like just your share and what you were sharing, because it was real. It was a real conversation. It was not staged.
Right.
It was exactly like this. It was not staged, and it was just this back and forth that people like, okay, well, yeah, they do fight. Yeah, they do, like they raise their kids together. Yeah, they do have fucking challenges, but at the same time, they're healers. They care. They love. And to see all that as your totality and just like simply be, it was beautiful to see for me. I hugged you after, and I hugged you after. I felt the warm love in my heart. So thank you for being on this show. Thank you for sharing your story.
It's an honor.
This is going to help many that are watching the show, perhaps maybe to even consider like listening or watching the show with their wives, and just allow this hour of conversation that takes this place to create a dialogue between them that goes wherever it goes. You listen to this kind of conversation, it makes your heart involved, and your mind slowly stops getting involved and building stories. And when the heart gets involved, feelings get involved, and the truth gets involved, and inside of that, the good things happen because it's based on truth. So thank you for that. Thank you for the gift.
Thank you so much, Sam.
Thank you for
Appreciate
being
it.
here. For all of you that are watching or listening to this podcast still, or that if you're not, it doesn't matter. But if you are, you can find out more about WarriorWeekNow.com, on WarriorWeekNow.com, about our podcast, and as well as on iTunes and Google Play, you can download the podcast and listen to more. This was our 30th episode, and we will continue coming at you with more powerful couples such as the Osburns. Thank you for being here, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.